I chose Chaga Inonotus obliquus for my fungus presentation. Chaga is a basidiomycete in the class Agaricomycetes, order Hymenocatales, family Hymenocataceae, genus Inonotus, which was a genus created in 1879 by a scientist named Karst, and that was to group polyporal fungi with pigmented spores. But since then there have been some changes to the morphological and molecular data, which has moved Chaga around a little bit, but that's the taxonomy. And so Chaga is a parasitic fungi which is found mostly on birch trees, but rarely, sometimes it's found on other hardwoods. And what happens is the spores of Chaga will find a wound or a scar in the tree, and they will infect the tree, and the spores enter through that wound and then spread to the heartwood, and eventually the Chaga fungus will infect the entire tree and kill it. But from the heartwood, mycelium grows, and the Chaga mycelium causes white rot by decomposing the lignin and, to a lesser extent, the cellulose of the tree. And after about 4 to 7 years, the mycelium moving out from the heartwood to the bark of the tree will fracture the bark, and that forms this sclerotal mass, which is what is shown here in the photo. And so these masses, which are called sclerota, mycelial sclerota, are not actually the fruiting body of the fungus, which a lot of people think they are, because that's what you harvest to use chaga. However, it's just a mycelial mass. And it is actually sterile, so it's not part of the reproductive cycle, which chaga reproduces when the host tree is killed. And these sclerotal masses can be up to 1.5 meters long, with a 30 centimeter overhang out of the tree. And they're usually this black, cracked, burnt looking, very hard mass, and almost like a charred wood type look. And the inside of this mass of the fungus is usually like a dark orangey red brown. And so this growth will sometimes produce asexual spores called chlamydospores, and that can aid in spreading the disease throughout the host tree. However, they are not part of reproduction. And so once the host tree dies, which can be 40 some years later, chaga has a very long life. It can be 20 to 40 years in the host tree, just depending. That is when the fruiting bodies will emerge. They will also break through the bark of the tree, and not always, I think, they grow, but the fruiting bodies will emerge as small spindles coming out of the bark. They're usually hard and brittle and can break off from the bark easily, and kind of like inverted, and they will release the spores, which are what then travel through the air and infect a new host tree. The spores are ellipsoid shaped and are about 8 to 10 by 5 to 7.5 nanometers. Moving on to the habitat. Chaga thrives in cold habitats, so it likes cold winters. It's found in the northern hemisphere, in northern Europe, Russia, Siberia, and Asia, and also North America. It prefers latitudes of 45 to 68 degrees north, and can tolerate temperature down to 40 degrees Celsius, or negative 40 degrees Celsius. And people have tried to cultivate chaga for its medicinal uses. However, none of the chaga that has been cultivated by humans has been found to be as potent or as useful medicinally, and in fact, they had some of a different makeup of constitutions and nutrients than the wild chaga, and so chaga is one of those fungi that is sought after rather than able to be cultivated, and so it's best to be wild harvested. So the reason I chose chaga was because it's a very potent medicinal fungus, which is one of my interests. And so chaga is actually one of the top 3 most popular fungi for medicine. It's very sought after, and it was historically used in Europe and Asia. In Europe, the first documented use is in the 16th century, and even further back, the first documented use in China is in 1st century BCE. And that was written in an herbal text by Shen Nong, who was a Chinese medicinal practitioner. So in Siberia and Russia, chaga was used to cure cancer and treat tuberculosis and parasitic worms, and as a general preventative. And there's a legend in Russia of a duke about 900 years ago that this Duke Vladimir Monomakh had lip cancer that was cured by chaga. And so chaga was also used by First Nations peoples in North America, Canada, and Native Americans. And so it's been used for a very, very long time medicinally. And even now, we're just studying chaga and figuring out more beneficial constituents of the fungus and more uses, and figuring out how powerful medicinally chaga can be. So, chaga is used to treat a lot of different things in both traditional Chinese medicine and herbal medicine, as well as naturopathic medicine, and making its way into more modern medicines and Western medicine. So studies have shown that chaga can suppress cancer cell proliferation, as well as mitigate the negative effects of cancer treatment, and it's seen generally as a cancer preventative. So there have been studies shown in animals that using chaga can stop cancer cell growth and also shrink tumors. And this matches with the historical use of chaga. As well as cancer, chaga is recognized as an immunomodulatory fungus. And so specifically with immune function, it's seen as an adaptogenic, meaning that for people with an overactive immune system, chaga will calm that down and restore it to a less hyperactive state. And with people who are lacking in immune function, chaga can boost their immunity and make it stronger and work better. And so, in conjunction with other herbal medicines, chaga is used to reduce inflammation, aid in treating autoimmune disorders, and even act as an antibiotic. It's also very good for inflammation and can be beneficial to diabetes and cardiovascular disease and lung health. And so there have been many studies done that show these effects I've been reading some journal articles. If you guys are interested, I can send some. This photo here is from a scientific article that was studying triterpenoids from chaga and anti-tumor activities, so another cancer study. But there have been other breakthrough studies showing chaga, for example, as an antibiotic, and these studies have found chaga to interfere with bacteria's quorum sensing, which is the way that bacteria have their intercellular communication, and so this allows the body to fight off these bacteria more easily. And yeah, there's a lot more that I plan on going deeper into and exploring the benefits of chaga medicinally. But an important note is that it's best found with best used with double extraction, meaning chaga extracted in both alcohol and boiling water, and this gets most of the medicinal constituents out of the chaga. A lot of people have been capitalizing on the popularity of chaga and the new studies coming out, and so you might find a lot of supplements on the market saying that they will have many benefits from chaga. However, if it's not extracted properly, you're not going to get the most potent medicine, or sometimes really none, which is an important note. Additionally, chaga harvesting is something that really must be done sustainably, as it is such a popular medicine. It's been in danger of being over harvested before, and again, back to the life cycle, due to the very slow life cycle and rare reproduction of the species, it's something that we have to be sparing with. In order to harvest chaga, you want to harvest it in the coldest part of winter, or at least after about 5 continuous nights below 5 degrees Celsius or 41 degrees Fahrenheit, which is when the host tree has gone to winter. And this is because in the colder weather, the chaga will boost its more beneficial compounds in order to survive winter better. And that has been found to have a higher nutrient and medicinal constituent profile in the colder months. Also, in the summer, there's going to be a lot more water in the chaga, and so it just won't be as dense with medicine. You should never harvest more than 25% of the sclerotal growth, as that can just immediately kill the host tree. But you can harvest this chaga and then come back to it years later, as it will be growing for a long time, and so you can harvest from the same host tree and the same fungus for years in a row. It's also been found that the longer a chaga growth has been, the more nutrient dense it will be. And chaga is a very hard, thick, woody like growth, and so you usually harvest it with an axe and need a lot of tools to break it up into pieces. And the more you break it up, the more surface area there's going to be for making a tea or a tincture or some kind of medicine. So that's going to be better for harvesting as well. And these are just some of the sources in my bibliography. But yeah, I hope you guys explore chaga and learn more. And it's a really exciting fungus, and hopefully we will see more of it used as medicine. And